Hello and welcome to the David and David on Real Estate podcast. Today we are on episode number 122 and we have Stephen Whiting with us from StreetText. Stephen, welcome to the David and David on Real Estate podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, no, we're excited to have you on and learn a little bit more about you. Why don't we start off with a brief introduction?
So obviously my name is Steve Whiting, and I am the co-CEO and co-founder of StreetText. And StreetText makes it super simple for real estate agents to meet new clients through Facebook and Instagram. So you can almost just, like we have all these proven templates that are tested, they work, you can see all the metrics behind them. You just one click deploy, and before you know it, you've got leads coming in, and then those leads you can turn into customers. So if you're looking for a very, very simple way to actually leverage Facebook and Instagram, come check out StreetText.
I'm just thinking, Stephen, that I know so many real estate agents that are going to be so disappointed that this is available because they love going door to door, knocking on doors, farming their area.
Oh,
They're gonna
yes.
they're gonna say, "What is this the way of the world now? It's this is the future." But it's
Well,
not the future, it's the present.
well, I'm actually glad you said it that way because for the longest time, we actually referred to it as digital door knocking, right? It's essentially you're using ads to do the knocking for you. So instead of being out there, you can be sleeping, you could be in a meeting and whatnot. And the ads are just, reaching out, doing all the knocking. And then as people interact with them and they raise their hands, then those are the people you follow up with. So it's actually pretty neat that you said that.
Stephen, why don't you give us a little bit of a background? Like, what got you, where were you before you started Street Text? What's your story?
So my story is so many, many years ago, a long time ago, I actually was a real estate agent as well. So definitely know the business and the ins and outs. And this is before, apps on your phone and before, smartphones even. We used to refer to them as dumb phones. The name Street Text actually comes from a tool we created where you could text a sign writer. So you would have texted a number of a property to a short code or like a short number on a sign. And then those that had smartphones would have got the information and pictures. And those that just had, remember the flip phones and all those other cool phones, you would just get some details about the property. But the reason that at that particular time it was really important is as an agent, you were leaving a listing and you were walking outside with, say, your customers, your clients, and they would say, "Oh, I see a home for sale across the street. How much is that house?" But there was no way to look it up. There wasn't even realtor.ca on your phone. There was nothing. And so you'd have to go back to the office, or the agent would have to phone the listing agent on that property just to find out how much it was worth. And so that was where we started with textable sign writers. But textable sign writers was a nice to have product, but it wasn't a must have. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, that kind of expression. So agents liked it, but as a business for us to sell it, it was a tough slog. We'd have to educate a realtor on how it worked and get the signs out there. And you couldn't really control how many leads came through. And we had a number of agents that said to us, I love the lead component. I love the fact that people text in and they get information and I have somebody I can reach out to because I'm always looking for somebody to reach out to. Could you get more of that for me? So in 2014, we started exploring Facebook specifically because Facebook had introduced ads in the news feed. And so we started running ads in the news feed. And there's a whole story behind how we actually made one of them work. It was actually phenomenal. But when it worked, it really worked. And so suddenly we then took that product and we prototyped it to some of our agents, and it quickly eclipsed our other business. And long story short, we became a Facebook partner, and we kept the name StreetText, but now everything's just on the ad side.
Can you dive a little bit deeper? I'm curious to hear how you guys made that first
Yeah.
episode.
Okay. This is sort of like this was a stressful moment. So in 2014, when we went all in, like so I started really exploring the Facebook ad side, and I'm an all in person. So we had a small team on the textable sign writer business. So when we started going all in on this, we took our eyes off the ball of the other business, and it starts to go downhill. And we're not bringing on any new customers. We're still churning customers out. So I'm now betting everything on this new venture, right? This new opportunity. And at the same time, I've got my first kid on the way. I was doing a big renovation of a home. I needed to make sure it was ready before she was born in November, and it's like the summertime. And we also at that time we were super scrappy. We're out of money, out of budget. So I didn't really have budget to test customers on this new platform. So I had to convince real estate agents to give me budget to then test it on Facebook to get something that was working, but nothing was working. It just wasn't clicking. Like I got a little bit of traction here or there. And I remember we had this one agent, Daryl, dear friend in Kelowna, and he had given me, I was down to like the last $500, and I was probably down to the last like $100 or even $50 of it. And I was super stressed, and it was just wasn't working. Nothing was working. And so I remember I was doing a horrible job at that time of, ripping up the subfloor in your house, like, and they had glued all the subfloor down in the kitchen. And so it was like that kind of like fibery kind of board. And like each time you pick a piece up, it just breaks and just forever. And so I ended up needed a break from that. I went to Starbucks, launched this ad. I had this idea for one more ad that I wanted to run. And I launched it, and I came home, and this was, yeah, spending the last bit of Daryl's budget. It was Daryl's ad. I was running it for him. I come back, I'm picking up the subfloor, I'm ripping it up again, and my phone is just buzzing. And I think somebody's calling me, but I'm not in the mood to talk to anybody. I just want to get the job done. But it's like somebody is really needing me. And at that time, I had set up like a Zapier connection just to let me know if a new lead was coming in. And when I looked at my notification, I must have had like 50 new leads. Like it was just new lead after new lead after new lead. And in that moment, I knew we had found it. And it was from that point on, I just took that and we showed it to our other clients, and that's really where it took off. And I think that's one of the beautiful thing about ads too, that when they work, you can drive an unbelievable amount of traffic into somewhere and then have them do something. And you can do as much SEO as you want, and that's a great idea. You should, but you can never just drive people to it, right? And you can turn it on and off. And I then from that moment on became obsessed with ads, because ads is just, if it's done right, can truly transform your business. You can have a predictable stream of income if you can figure out how to generate the lead at the right cost, have a process for nurturing it, watch it close, attribute that back to the ad, and then just repeat that cycle. And as long as there's margin in it, you can scale it. And I think that's one of the most exciting things about performance marketing or advertising.
That's a great story, and I love the way you tell it. It's like Alexander Graham Bell, like inventing the telephone. He leaves the room, and then Watson hears something, and when they're trying to ignore it because they don't think it's working, and it's fabulous. It's
Well, I
really good.
appreciate that you attribute that story with that one. Not maybe as famous, but thank you. Yeah.
Stephen, what was this? I'm just curious. What was the secret sauce in that ad?
So, okay, well, here, what's funny is what's old is new again. So I was trying a whole bunch of new creative, but you know what? Postcards have been around forever. Real estate agents have been using postcards. And what do a lot of the postcards say when they're mailing them out? They say, would you like to find the value of your home? Or I've just sold this home. Would you like to find your value? And I just thought, oh, that one won't work. That one won't work. And I did a version of what was old, but put it on digital, because there's a reason people have been doing that for years. The odd person would call you and would say, I would like to find out the value of my home. And so that became our initial ad. And it's just, again, what's old is new again. It worked offline, it would work on digital, and work online. And then we've made modifications obviously to that ad, but that same original template that I created, it is actually still used in our system today, and it is still one of our best performing ads.
That's amazing. So
Just in terms of timeline, sorry, I think you said 2014 when this was
14,
going
yes.
on. So
Yeah.
it's 10 years already.
Yes. Yeah. So we've been in the ad
Started.
business for a long time. Obviously it's changed a lot since then. And, the business is, there's a lot that we offer agents now on that side. There's a whole lot of remarketing and a bunch of other tools and things that are built in. But that same ad still actually exists in the platform.
that's so cool. So Stephen, why should agents really focus on their online presence? Like, why is this important?
Well, and we can talk about this a little bit later, but things are changing in the industry, and there will be changes. And if you have in your business an ability to generate predictable like lead generation that you're in control of, it's really important. And obviously you need a website. Obviously you need to have social. You obviously need to be creating content. You need to be building your network. But if you have a database that is ever growing, you can ride out any market. There are agents out there that just have a handful of people in their database. And when things get hard, they can only reach out to that handful of people. But if over time you've been growing a database that's, 50,000 people, 100,000 people, and you own that list now, that's another thing is like when you run ads, if you have a way of collecting those people and turning them into essentially like a newsletter, your own campaigns, you can email them for free from that point on. And it's really, if you think about it, that's what every business does. Every single business builds an audience, builds a customer base, remarkets to that customer base. Because there's only a few ways you can make money. You either make money by, getting new customers, selling more to your existing customers, or getting your existing customers to just buy again. And that's exactly the same thing that agents need to be thinking about. They need to put that marketing hat on their business and realize that when their phone rings, it's great, they're working with somebody. But if they're not building around that outside of that transaction, they're not going to have the next person to talk to. And so that's why it's so important to focus on this. And I think what I love about the ad side is it's very controllable. Like in the past, when you were running ads, you can think of way back with TV or something else, you spent a fortune. But now with today, you can spend as little as just $5 a day, $9 a day, and you can turn it off. And you could generate a lead or somebody that you can talk to. But it's so measurable, and you don't have to like go crazy on it, and you don't even have to buy leads. Like the concept of buying leads, I don't really love. I love for you to put that marketing hat on and think like I am a marketer, and I am going to make sure that people see my brand, they find my business, they do become leads because I'm providing things of value. But with that marketing hat on, I care about growing my database and my influence and my presence. And I think that's how you're going to stand out, regardless of any change in the market, anything that happens. You then become top of mind. You're omnipresent. People think of you first. So
Yeah, and I guess, Stephen, we can also look at this answer from a consumer purchase behavior as well, right? Because I mean, they're driving a lot of these conversations too, like how consumers purchase, how consumers interact with your brand, how they make their decision, that's evolving and changing over time. So a lot of this is, the industry trying to match those consumer behaviors as well.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, once the consumer became in charge of the fact that they could get a lot of the information quickly and easily at their fingertips, I mean, things changed. And you definitely need to make sure that you're providing that value quickly. But again, if you provide value, the consumer enjoys interacting, and they're more than happy to interact with value. And so we always, serve, not sell. And if you can get that value out in front of them and educate, then by the time you walk into that listing appointment, the deal's already done. I think that there's a whole nother part there back to the marketing, but it's one thing to generate a lead online, but you should really think about even ads as really your platform to essentially build your authority, but also to educate that prospective seller or buyer on why you, and not only why you, but answer a bunch of the questions that they have that is on their mind right now. And it's all the same questions. You already know all of them. I mean, you get asked them all the time. It might be like, what's my closing cost going to be? How long does it take? How should I price my property? All that stuff. And we find that agents that provide that content, either through newsletters, but also as ads, and it can be as remarketing ads, they provide that. By the time a seller is interviewing or having a couple people come into their home, when you walk into their home, they feel like they know you, they've seen you, they like you, they trust you, and you've already won it. It happens all the time. You've won. You walk in, you just talk to them, and you've already answered 99% of their questions. And I think when agents realize the power of that, and they actually experience it, I think it's a game changer. From that point on, they'll never stop running ads. They'll never stop educating and providing that value, because it's just an easier transaction. It's just so much easier than convincing somebody why to work with you. You've done all that, but you did it all while you were sleeping or in another meeting, or doing something else.
So this all has to start with having, obviously need a website that's current, up to date, and easy to navigate through. So you got to have that, but you also have to have a social media presence to create the content and and be pushing that out to create, the eyeballs, right?
You do, but you also don't in the sense that so StreetText has a lot of that content available for you today. And so you can come into our platform, you can launch it, and in a couple clicks, you can have a lot of content that's educating people, right? Even if it's all generic and you can just use it. And then once you've got that out and it's running, a small tweak that you can begin to do is then just customize it. So for a lot of agents, social is daunting, content is daunting. It's just hard to do. Everybody says you should create video, and then they're like, oh my goodness, I'm really freaked out. I'm not going to create any video. But launch the proven ads because they'll work. They'll get in front of your audience. And then the first thing you should do is then start to customize the images. And there's tools like Canva. I mean, have you guys used Canva before? Like, there's so many great tools out there that you can just take our content, put your face on it, your logo on it, re-upload that. And now all of a sudden, it's not just our ad, but it's our ad with your brand. And it always had your business page, but now it's your face. And then you get some confidence on that. And people are like, oh, I see your ads all the time. I see you all the time. And then you can begin to experiment with, maybe I just want to create like a video. And then you create your first video and you put it out there. But you don't have to start there. You can actually just start really small, and you can start just with the content we have because it works. That's the entirety of the platform, is it shows you the performance and how well the ads are working. So you can pick things that are working. But and then you can take incremental steps to get to that. And then eventually you should be creating content. You should be putting, I mean, we all know that, but it's hard to do. So it takes exercise. You got to build that muscle.
Okay. For the agents that aren't as tech savvy or don't think they might be tech savvy enough to use what you're offering, I'm assuming that what you're telling us in terms of, do add your own branding. This is stuff that an agent can do on their own. They don't have to
100%.
hire a tech guy or a social media guy or someone and pay somebody to do this necessarily. It's something they could fairly easily, with the available software, learn how to do at home on their own without incurring an additional expense of somebody else, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and the thing about like our platform, just the last thing is you don't have to even pay anything to get this information. You can come to our system, you can start a trial, we'll invite you to our mastermind, you can attend for free, and you'll see all of it. You'll see how it all works. You'll see what other agents are doing and the things that they're putting into practice. And so all of that's available for you for free. You can even test the platform out for free other than your ad spend. But I guess to answer that question, it's designed to do that you're in control and you can do it really easily. It's quite simple. But then if it's still over your head, or not even over your head, you're just too busy for it, then we do have services that we can do that then obviously for you. But it's designed first and foremost for somebody to do on their own.
Stephen, what I kind of got from this, which kind of, turned on the light bulb in my head, is that when you're talking about consumer behavior, and when it comes to consumer making a decision to buy or sell a home, there's a certain thought process that's associated with that buying behavior or selling behavior. And if you can help engage with them as they're going through that thought process and answer some of those questions, that's how you're going to get engagement from them as they're going through that process. And that's how you're going to catch them at the right time. So,
Exactly. Yes.
and you know what, when you put it like that, because I think that's basically what this episode was about. When you put it like that, that's what makes it easier to kind of figure out, okay, if somebody's buying a house, and if somebody's buying a house in this neighborhood, in this price range, what would they want? What are they thinking about? Are they thinking about the top school for their children? Are they thinking about French immersion? Are they thinking where they get their, Bentley serviced, if that's the neighborhood that you want to appeal? But think through some of these
The
things,
schools that are in the area,
right?
right?
And you can answer those questions and catch them as they're going through that thought process about, hey, I'm going to be moving in this neighborhood. Like, what do I have to know? What are the processes I'm going to have to go through? Who are some of the providers I'm going to have to reach out to? And if you're there answering those questions, then you're going to catch them at the right time, and your ads are going to work, and you're going to get engagement. Like, it's not rocket science. You're the one that mentioned that once you figure it out, then the light kind of turns on, and it's easier to put that content out there.
And once the ads are out there and they're working, they just keep working for you back to the beginning. It's like they're digitally door knocking, like they're doing the work for you. Even to take it outside of real estate for a second, let's just say you're evaluating, like you want to get your teeth aligned, right? And you're evaluating Invisalign or something, and you are just doing a little bit of research or whatnot, and you land on a couple dentists' websites. But one of those dentists, the moment you do, is now in your news feed or in Facebook and Instagram. It's just showing you a bit about the process, what it looks like, some before and after results, maybe a customer testimonial. And that's just happening all on its own as you're just going about your day, jumping on Facebook or whatnot. Which dentist are you going to pick, right? Like you're just naturally going to go to that one. They're answering all the questions you have. How much does it cost? What's the timeline like? These are all the things in somebody's mind. And again, I think the thing is like every business should be doing it. So few businesses do, and it's exactly the same for real estate agents. Those that do, when they get the feedback loop and it's working, and like I said, they walk into that listing presentation or they walk into a Home Depot and somebody says, "Oh, I see you all the time, and I see your content. You've been so helpful." Then it's very addictive, and then from that point on, you just kind of lean into it, and you stand out, and it's so easy to do. I mean, it's obviously easy for me to say that because I've seen it so many times. But I would like to extend that confidence to other agents. It is actually easy to do. You just have to do the first step. And then from there, you can begin to build on it and go forward.
All right. Well, this has been fabulous, Stephen. We're gonna have to pick this up in our next episode and take it to the next level about how you turn these lead generations into real client relationships and how you can enhance your business that way. So this has been fabulous. Food for thought, Stephen. It's really interesting.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Appreciate being here today.
Thanks so much for joining us.